It's time for Extra Point with your host, Phil Jones.
Welcome in, everybody. Phil Jones with you. It is time once again for Extra Point with Phil Jones. Of course, I have with me Miss Producer. You know her as, she's my sidekick and has been doing a great job with us now for, the last 2 months?
Yeah.
Mazzani Matthews is here with me. How's
Hello,
it going?
everybody.
Is it how long it's been, 2 months?
Yeah, I've been here since, July?
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, guys, thank you all so much for being a part of our show today. For those of you that are veterans of the show, regulars of the show, you know the drill. Want to hear where you guys are checking in from, who your favorite teams are. How did your favorite teams do this past week? And if you're new to the show, well, there are our very simple rules that I just laid out for you. So welcome aboard. If you are new, we hope that this will be the first of many more shows that you catch. We do this every Monday, except for holidays. And a couple of weeks ago, Labor Day? We went on Tuesday instead of Monday. But nevertheless, under normal circumstances, it is every Monday, 5 o'clock, 5 to 6:30. Myself and Ms. Producer will be here to do the show with you. Our buddy Coach Sly, longtime athletic director for the Milton Eagles, is going to be joining us around 5:45. So with that, let's get this baby started. And Mazzani, who we got checking out the show today?
I see here that we have Michael Baxter checking out. He said James Earl Jones, the voice of Darth Vader, has died.
Oh, did he really?
Yes. I thought it was going to be some better news than that.
Oh, no. Man, I hate to hear that.
Yeah.
Well, he's got the voice, doesn't he?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, got the pipes for sure. Obadiah Farley is checking in. Obadiah, I saw you before you saw me.
Yeah.
Did I not?
Yes, you did.
I looked down. I said, there goes Obadiah. And, of course, Obadiah, for those of y'all that don't know, he is, I have anointed him, of course, Thomas County Central's #1 fan,
yes.
Which he is. And we're going to be talking about Thomas County Central here in just a second. That was our game of the week this past Friday night and had a ton of people checking out the show. That was our best viewership turnout I think we've had maybe ever. It may have set a record.
Yeah. It was. I thought the first game was a great turnout, but that one this past Friday was amazing.
Really
Maybe
was.
because it was a rivalry.
Yeah, it just had all the elements of a great game. You know, the alumni from all over the country were watching. That's the beauty of the internet, the beauty of what we do. You know, we've gotten that now. Mazzani, of course, Mazzani she's on the video for all our games of the week that I do the play-by-play for. And, you know, we get that every week. That is family, alumni, family of players that are on the field, some kind of connection to each of the teams that are playing. We get that every Friday night, and it's a great thing. But have you seen what now everybody, the kind of the running deal is now with everybody? Everybody wants a shout-out now.
Yes, it is. You keep them entertained.
And that's okay. That's cool, especially when you get to, like, the third quarter and fourth quarter, like we did this past Friday night when the game really kind of got out of hand. But Thomas County Central showed me a lot. But I'll say this, Thomasville, they hung in there. They did not give up. Well, what's some moxie from the Thomasville Bulldogs? You got to remember, that's a Class A team going against a 5A team. So we got to remember that.
A big battle.
It is. It is. It's a big difference, you know, and we got to remember that even though it is a crosstown rivalry and always will be, that's just one thing you got to keep in mind. You know, one school has a decided advantage. But I'm not taking anything away from Thomas County Central. I don't want anybody thinking that. They are not just a football team, Mazzani. That is a machine.
Yeah, a well-oiled machine.
Oh, my goodness. Look, I know, we all know how good Thomas County Central is. But when you see them up close in person, you know, it looked like a college team.
Yeah.
And I'm not exaggerating. What a great job that Coach Rogers has done there with the team. There is no question that team has that program has devoted a lot of time and effort in the weight room.
Mm-hmm.
First thing I thought about when I saw them.
Yeah, they look pretty big, don't they?
They do. They just, not just big, but very well conditioned.
Mm-hmm.
You can just see it. You can see the difference. And again, not to say that the Thomasville. I mean, all these programs are good for a reason. Thomasville, of course, our number 1 ranked team in Class A Division 1. Thomas County Central, of course, one of our top 5 teams in Class 5A. So all these teams, when you get to be, a ranked team, a top 10 team, the weight room certainly matters. And I got to tell you, you can practice all you want, but any coach worth their salt, any fan worth their salt, will tell you that's where it starts and stops, is in the weight room, and how much time you devote to the weight room and the strength and conditioning of your program.
Yeah, I was just about to say the conditioning is super important.
It really is.
It helps with stamina.
No question.
Yeah.
No question. So thanks, guys, for everybody checking out the show today. Again, we want to hear from y'all. Want to know what you want to talk about. Want to know what games y'all are at. What were the big games? I know there was a lot of teams off this past week. I don't remember. I don't recall there being so many teams having bye weeks. And again, I guess maybe it's because of the reclassification has certainly affected that a little bit. But man, there was a lot. I would dare say a third of the teams had a bye week. And I'm talking about overall. If it wasn't that, it was pretty close. I can tell you, a lot of teams, a ton of teams enjoying their first of 2 bye weeks that teams will enjoy across the state this year.
Well, do you think it's a good time for players or teams to have bye weeks around this time? Do you think it affects them if they have a bye week too early in the season?
I don't. I think, different strokes for different folks. I think, there's some teams that certainly welcome it. And I think this is how I'll answer your question. Some teams welcome it, especially those teams that have played very physical games to start the year. And we've talked a lot about these extreme schedules that we knew was coming. I've talked about it, for the entire off season. What I talked about is exactly what we're getting, which is super competitive football. Very physical games, teams that are, there's not that many doozies, not that many easy games in the early going. So to answer your question, Mazzani, yeah, I think a lot of teams welcome this early bye week after 3, some 4 games in, mostly 3 games in. I think teams welcome it and gives them a chance to rest up. And again, it's those teams primarily who have played the very challenging schedules.
Yeah.
Now, on the other side of that, teams that have gotten off to a good start and don't want to see a break in their momentum probably don't welcome the bye week as much.
Yeah.
So I think it's, like I said, different strokes, different folks, kind of how you look at it. But whether you like it or not, it's here. So you got to make the most of it, right?
That is so true.
Yeah.
That is true. I see here on YouTube we have Eric Sanders checking in. He says, "Good evening, Phil and Miss Producer, live from Columbus, Ohio." He says, "Shout out to Westover Patriots and Corey Joyner for a great 3-0 start in school history."
Oh, beautiful. Now, which team was that?
That was the Westover Patriots.
Westover Patriots. Hey, listen, I'm paying attention. You know why? I've got your Westover Patriots ranked.
Oh.
Our ITG Next top 10 ranking. Yours truly does our rankings every week, in case y'all didn't know. And I've got, and I am rewarding said Westover Patriots for their great undefeated start so far.
That's great. And they can also catch your top 10. Where else can they catch it on the AJC, correct?
Yeah, we are part of the AJC's composite poll where we joined the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, 680 The Fan, Max Preps, Maxwell Ratings, and Score Atlanta, and Georgia Public Broadcasting. We joined those entities as far as the composite poll. What they do is they take our top 10 rankings for all 8 classifications, and they take everybody's and they make what's called the composite poll. But they'll show individually how we all voted, how we all ranked. So you guys check that out. That's part of in addition to looking at the poll locally here at ITGX, part of our twice weekly newsletter that comes out. Of course, you can see it on our Facebook page, all of our social media outlets. You can see the rankings. And as Mazzani just mentioned, You can check it out at the Georgia High School Football Daily, Todd Holcomb's newsletter that they put out 5 days a week.
Yes.
And it comes out on Wednesday, the composite poll does. So there you go.
Thank you.
That's the plug.
Thank you. That is the plug. We also have, Evan Reese, longtime fan. He says, hello, checking in from Roswell. His Roswell Hornets played a mistake-filled game against Buford on Friday, but he said we have Westlake this Friday. So how do you think that may turn out this Friday against Westlake?
Who is it? Buford?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
No, excuse me, Roswell Hornets.
Oh, I'm sorry.
This is Evan Reese.
Okay. Well, Evan, I got to ask, man, what happened to your Hornets this past Friday night? I think, if funny, your team name actually came up earlier in a discussion I was having with our owner, Mark Dykes. We were talking about Roswell, and I think Roswell's going to be fine. Now, they're playing Westlake. Is that right?
Let me see. Yes, they're playing Westlake this Friday.
I think Roswell takes that. I think Roswell is a little better than Westlake. Westlake down just a little bit this year. Westlake, of course, known for their great athletes year in, year out. But I think this is Roswell's year. And, again, that's notwithstanding their recent loss against Buford. So, by the way, look at Day White. Let me get back to it. Day is Day-Day's throwing some shade at me. He says, Phil got a co-host now? Oh, he boogie. LOL. Day-Day, I've had a co-host. We just talked about it. 2 months now.
Yeah.
We rolling up here now. Come on. What you talking about? Day White, big follower of the show. And ITG next. What you got?
And then we have Eric Glover. He says, Warner Robins Demons, put some respect on their name. I know that was a big rivalry this past Friday. Warner Robins against Houston County, correct?
Wow. I tell you, what a big win for Coach Shane Sams and Warner Robins. Listen, last year was the first year, what was it, guys? I think in 6 years that Warner Robins did not advance to the state title game. Okay. Quite the streak that Warner Robins had under Marquise Westbrook, now at Peach County. So there was a little bit of, people like throwing a little bit of criticism, not warranted at all. It's hard to get to a state championship game. But when you've done it 5-6 years in a row, everybody comes to expect it. And I get it. So last year they didn't make it to the state title game. They came up just a little bit short. They had a great season under first-year head coach Shane Sams. But now it looks like Coach Sams has got that machine of a program rocking and rolling again. Warner Robins, they defeat Houston County. That's 2 big wins in a row over crosstown rivals. Northside Warner Robins a couple of weeks ago, and now Houston County. Houston County is a good football team, and that was a big win.
Yeah.
Remember, Houston County had defeated Perry week before. So that's a great win for Shane Sams and Warner Robins. Big-time win, for sure. All right, let's see who else we got.
I see C.J. Lane. You remember Cook Hornets?
Yeah, right.
He said, we got to toughen up. I know we're young. We got a tough schedule, but it's time to man up.
I got you. I got you.
I wonder how they did this past Friday.
Who is that?
C.J. Lane, the Cook Hornets.
Cook went to Callaway and lost. Tough loss for Cook. I thought they were going to win that game. They lose to the Callaway Cavaliers. In fact, I think that was Callaway's first win of the year. My buddy Dr. Mike McCartney, the voice of the Hornets, was keeping me updated on that game. Tough loss for Cook. I had Cook all the way up at number 2 in the preseason poll, but they're starting to slip now. Of course, their second consecutive loss, the first one coming to last week when we were there for the ITG Next Game of the Week against Brooks County. So let's see if Cook can hang on. Listen, here's the deal with Cook. They're young. Mazzani, I talked about that last week in our Game of the Week. They're young. It is a roster littered with sophomores.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, I've never seen a roster with so many sophomores. And to a man, everybody at Cook was telling me about all of the great 8th graders, the 8th grade team that they've got coming up. Very talented. That's the team to watch out for. So Kenny Goff, of course, one of the guys is part of the Cook radio broadcast team, headed up by the aforementioned Dr. Mike McCartney, my buddy, at Adel Dental Associates. They are all talking about this 8th grade team. Now, I don't think they're going to have to wait, though, for that. because I think, again, the sophomore class that they've got is going to come up and start making some noise next year, year after that. So they're going to be fine.
But also, the 8th grade team, they'll possibly get a chance. Some of them will get a chance to play with these current sophomores.
Good point. Absolutely. We're starting to see that more and more, and you're right. These freshmen start to make an impact, and you're right. They'll get their shot.
Yeah, so if CJ could be just a little bit more patient, I believe he's going to see the Cook County team that he wants to see in the future.
Here, here.
Yeah.
Here, here. Let's see here. I want to make sure I don't skip over anybody. By the way, guys, don't take offense if I overlook there's we get a lot of comments coming in. I want to make sure that I get everybody, as many as I can. Hey, if you comment and I haven't called your name, hit me up again. Okay, I'm constantly checking.
Oh, we have one. I see Clifford Daniel Lynch. He says, Lee County upsets Colquitt County this Friday night in Moultrie. That's what he predicts.
Now, let me ask you this. Who was that?
Clifford Daniel Lynch.
Okay. What's the deal with all these hyphenated names and everybody using their middle name? Anyway, I digress. So let me ask you this, Clifford. Would that really be considered an upset? I mean, I hear what you're saying. Colquitt, look, down just a little bit. I don't think the Colquitt is down as much as everybody says. Look, and when we say they're down a little bit, that doesn't mean they're bad. It just means that they're not at the state championship level, I don't think, talent-wise. I mean, come on. You had 2 AJC Super 11 players on your team last year. You had multiple Division I players on the team last year. That was a team that very well competed for a state championship. Do they have the team to do that now? I don't know. But look at what North Gwinnett has done. North Gwinnett picks up another big win this past week over Mill Creek. That was, by the way, one. Unfortunately, that was one of the many pick-6 games that I lost.
Yeah.
Only 2-4 this week. That's okay. I'm still 16-8 overall. So
but that was a close game, though, between them.
Yeah. Look, here's the deal, too. I could do some chalk, and I could just get the easy games and just puff up that record. But I'm not going to do that. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that. I'm going to give it some challenging games, and I thought the ones that I had, could have gone either way.
Yeah.
But anyway, North Gwinnett. So you look now at that game against Colquitt where they beat Colquitt 14-3. Now look at that 2 different ways. Big win for North Gwinnett, but it's a big game for Colquitt in that they held North Gwinnett to 14 points.
Yeah.
I think it's not a win, but it's a positive for the program.
Yes, I agree.
Okay. So who else we got on the show?
I see here we have Heath Carver. He said, how do you feel in the gang? Red Raiders checking in. So, hey, Heath. And then we also have Jeremy Williams. He says, Thomasville was the better team than Thomas County Central. I blame the refs. That's a big comment.
Okay, Jeremy, hang on a second now.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, buddy.
Were you at the game, Jeremy?
Jeremy, I appreciate your fandom, my man. I do. I respect it. And listen, Thomasville has got a good team. But, no, I think Thomas County Central had the better team. I think they showed it. They flexed their muscle. And, again, I don't want anybody thinking that this is a shot at Thomasville. It's not. In fact, big shout-out to our friends at Thomasville, Jeremy Rayburn, the athletic director. They really took care of us Friday night.
Yes, great hospitality.
Great hospitality. They had me a reserve parking spot right by the front gate, and you don't get that everywhere. Also had us a great position set up in the press box.
Right,
did they not?
Almost like smack dab in the 50, right in the middle.
It really was. I mean, you had some radio crew to the right of us. You had folks to the left of us, and there we were, ITG Next, situated right in the middle of the visitors' press box. It was a great vantage point.
Yep.
So a big thanks to our friends there at Thomasville for rolling out the red carpet for us. But Jeremy, getting back to your comment, no, I think Thomasville's got a really good team, but Thomas County Central, I think, was the better team. Sonny, what say you?
Well, he's mentioning the refs, but to me, in my opinion, I saw more flags against Thomas County Central in the overall game. So
yes, I agree with that.
Yeah, so I don't really understand why he would blame the refs for that part.
Yeah, look, Thomas County Central had a bunch of penalties.
Yeah.
I mean, a bunch. You know, I commented on that during the game that, look, Thomas County Central is not doing a whole lot wrong except for those penalties.
Yeah.
But now they were good enough to overcome the penalties.
They were. They overcame them.
All right. Gerald Gibbons. Thomas County Central was better, faster, stronger. They were supposed to beat this single-A team, and I think that's pretty well put. Yeah. Again, not throwing anything at anybody. It's just the way it was. Lakeisha Esther is checking out the show. Says, Jeremy, you are reaching with that one because my Thomas County Central played a great game. He was the better team. We had 383 yards and held them to 2 or 3 yards in the second half. Come on, man. And we got more flags, says Lakeisha. You commented on it, I believe. I think you had mentioned this to me in the third quarter, or maybe it was when we were talking to Jose Badilla outside the gate. That third quarter was really the difference, was it not? Coming out of the locker room, Thomasville had the second quarter belonged to Thomasville.
Yeah, they did. They did a great job, in the second quarter. But when they came out after halftime, it's like they lost a little bit of their momentum.
They did. Thomas County Central, I guess you can say they took the momentum that they had lost, in the second quarter, because Thomasville, that's when they came out, got the touchdown, they get the field goal. The game was, I believe, 14-10, if I'm not mistaken, 21-10, somewhere around there.
Yeah, I think it was around that way.
Yeah, and so you had a ball game, 21-10 going into the locker room at halftime, and Thomasville had reached for a long field goal right there at the end of the half. Didn't make it. However, Thomasville had no doubt gotten some momentum back, and as we just talked about, coming out in the third quarter, Thomas County Central, boom, went right to work, took over the game, did not allow Thomasville to get any more momentum, and went on to what was a comfortable victory.
Well, I was wondering, since you made that comment in the past, or maybe somebody in the chat can help us, is Thomasville a second half team? Do they get stronger in the second half? How have they been, this throughout the season and even the past seasons?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah.
So there's the question from Miss Producer: has Thomasville been a first quarter? Because teams do establish an identity.
Yeah, they do.
Certain teams are a second half team.
They are.
Some teams are a first half team. Some teams like playing from behind. Now, I think in that game, and we'll move on, guys. We're not going to talk the whole time about that game, but we'll say this and move on. I think in that game, really, Thomasville, to have a chance, had to come out and win the battle of the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
Number one, they weren't able to do that.
No.
Thomas County Central was just really far more superior.
Yes.
Strength, depth, size, speed, but give Thomasville credit. They hung in there, but again, I think Thomasville really had to have that third quarter, as we said, not to beat the horse. Thomasville needed a strong third quarter coming out of the locker room. They didn't get it. And I think that was the difference in the game.
That's true.
All right. So let's move on, guys. Love to hear from you guys and what you guys are talking about, what you guys are saying, and would love to hear from you.
I see a couple people here. We have Stephanie Danielle. She says, Brooks County Trojan Mama checking in. Go Trojans. And then we have Dijon Stroud. He said, why don't we see a Brooks County helmet? Well, it's on the third top row, you guys. Well, the first row at the very top. So when you look at Phil's camera, it's right where the camera cuts off. Your Brooks County helmet is right above there.
And we have over in the corner of our beautiful palatial studios of ITG Next, we have a football in a glass container.
Yeah.
What do you call that? I don't know. Just football in a glass container, I guess.
Yes.
But we have a football, I think that's signed, if I'm not mistaken. Is that a Brooks County football?
I believe it looks like it. And then we also have another miniature Brooks County helmet right beside it.
We do. And I know that one's signed. Maurice Freeman brought those over to us. So, look, we're definitely are repping some Brooks County in this in our studio. So, no worries there.
I'm sorry it's not in frame today, you guys.
And speaking of Brooks County, that's going to be the site of our next ITG Next Game of the Week.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Brooks County going to be hosting Fitzgerald. It's our next upcoming ITG Next Game of the Week. Hope you guys will enjoy it if you're not able to make the trip, as we had so many people enjoying the game this past Friday night. And after Brooks County Fitzgerald, guys, we're going to really get rolling with some big-time marquee matchups in the second half of the season as part of our ITG Next Game of the Week. It's just some of the games we'll throw out there for you. North Gwinnett going to be hosting Parkview. Talking about North Gwinnett. That's going to be Eric Godfrey hosting his former team that he coached at Parkview. We've got Milton taking on Gainesville. We've got Buford going to be taking on Collins Hill. So we've got some big-time games. Perry and Benedictine coming up. So just, the best is still yet to come with our ITG Next Game of the Week, guys. Got some big ones on tap for y'all.
Yeah. And I see that we have Montegas Map. He says, checking in from Greene County. We had a tough loss to Morgan County and looking to bounce back versus Laney.
Absolutely. All right. Hold on. What is this? David Griffith. Hey, how you got Lounge ranking now in region since they are 4-0? Well, David, I don't have them ranked yet. Now, keep in mind, we do the top 10 for the whole classification. I can tell you Valdosta did move into my top 10 with their impressive. Yeah, well, it's impressive. Look, I said all along. For everybody, Phil's hating on Valdosta. Well, not when you're beating Monday's meals and Tuesday's meal and Wednesday's meal. And I was always a big Valdosta fan. But, when you're beating up on, the Tucker of old, or the Tucker of new, I should say, who is not the Tucker of old. But listen, that being said, I was waiting on Valdosta to play a formidable opponent. They did that in Tampa. Jesuit went to South Florida. Yeah, went to South Florida. And listen, they withstood a late Tampa Jesuit rally and was able to retake the lead. So that's the kind of stuff I look for. So Valdosta rolls into the ITG Next Top 10 this week. So make you Valdosta fans happy about that. Yeah. So there we go. But Lowndes, not yet. Now, we'll say this. That was a big win for Lowndes. Yeah. And way to go, Adam Carter and the Vikings. They pick up a big win over, is it Manatee?
Yes, it is.
Manatee, Florida, this past week. I think Manatee was actually favored in that game. And they were one of they were a top 10 ranked team in Florida. So that's a big win. Barry Van says it's going to be Fitzgerald by 21. Oh! What's up with you guys today, man? Throwing out all these crazy stuff.
Let me see. Trey Housestead, actually from a viewer from YouTube, he says, what's the prediction between the Trojans and Packers this week? I'm thinking Lee might win in a close one.
I got to be honest with you. I did not make this one of my pick six.
Oh, my gosh.
I just couldn't do it. I got to stay away from it.
Yeah.
I love both the coaches. I love Sean Calhoun. I love Dean Fabrizio.
Yeah.
And believe me, when I make these picks, coaches pay attention.
Yeah. Of course they are. Of course
Phil.
they are. Yeah.
Hey, Phil.
And they have your number.
Yeah. Oh, they do that. Phil, such and such here. What's up with your pick six this week? You don't like us anymore?
Yeah.
Now, most of the coaches, look, they're joking, okay? But they certainly would love to see me pick their team. So I am in a no-win situation with Sean Calhoun and Dean Fabrizio picking one or the other. Now, having said that, that's going to be a great football game. And where's it at? Is it MacTharp? The Hog Pen? I believe it is. Guys.
I think so, yeah.
It's not going to surprise me if Colquitt wins that game, although I think Lee's going to be favored.
You think so? Okay.
Yeah, that's how I think. But Brad Tuff Sr. says, good job. Yeah, stay away from that, man. Can't get any enemies. Jacob O'Neill, how about Toombs upsetting Class 5A in Rome, Phil? That was the upset of the week.
Yeah, I was about to ask you. I see a lot of people in here talking about Toombs, and they're like, you're just going to skip over it. So, yeah, tell us a little bit about Toombs.
Yeah, Nick Fletcher, I was looking for you, Nick. Where you at, brother? Nick, he's been all on me about Toombs County since the preseason. And he told me, he said, Phil, watch out for Toombs County. That was huge, guys. Now, remember, though, okay, let's just take, let's just kind of qualify everything here. Okay, Rome, they were in that terrible bus crash.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, and I'm not making excuses. Don't get me wrong. But that took a lot. That really hampered that team in more ways than one. Psychologically, physically, you had players that were hurt, coaches that were hurt. That takes a little while to overcome. and again, I'm not making excuses, and John Reed's not either, the head coach. Toombs County got the win. Okay, enough said. But just keep in mind some of the mitigating factors that go into the Rome season and what has led to them, I think, being an 0-2 team.
Yeah. With the start like that, yes.
Yeah. But now, again, it's not taking anything away from Toombs County. Great football team, and that is a huge, huge win. And I think that was at Barron Stadium, was it not, guys? I believe that's right.
I see here we have Nathan Lincoln checking in. He says, big game Friday in the Concrete Palace. Kell versus Lowndes. Who you got, Phil?
Oh, man, that is going to be a big one there. Yeah, I'm going to go with Lowndes.
Yeah.
I think, but that's going to be the toughest game of the year right there. Kell, the Longhorns, going to be coming in. That's another thing, guys. If you look, there's a lot of these teams that have got decided home field advantages with all these home games. Lowndes, I think, has 8 home games this year, and good for them. That's great. Now, wait a minute. So what is Nick Fletcher saying? Nick, what's going on with you, man? Nick is saying something about I picked against him or I picked him to lose. Is that right? I'm trying to find you. Anyway. Look, Nick, I've been on the Toombs County bandwagon with you, brother. So no need to be critical with me here, man. I'm on the Toombs County Bulldog bandwagon. I think they're doing a great job. I've got them ranked.
Yes.
I got to look and see where I've got them. I believe they're in my top 5. Our top 5. So. Stephen K. Wynn says Roswell and Hughes were underdogs. Now, I got to tell you, the Hughes game playing against Douglas County, that one surprised me. By the way, real quick, our yours truly's pick 6. ITG next Georgia's pick 6.
Yeah.
Did not do so well.
No. But it's okay.
Lasagna, so much for consoling Phil.
I noticed a couple, but I'm like, hey, you have a great track record though.
I do. I'm a 16-8 for the year. So Thomas County Central, I had Thomas County Central winning that game 31-21. They win 48-10. I had Hughes defeating Douglas County by a point.
Yeah.
35-34. They lose that game, though.
Yeah, they
does
do.
Hughes. That surprised me.
21-14.
Yep. Norcross at Walton. Okay. I picked Walton to win 38-31.
Yeah.
Wasn't even close.
No.
And I think, safe to say, Walton is missing Jeremy Hecklinski, the all-everything quarterback. He was a 4-year starter there.
That's an important piece.
Very important. Now, here was one that surprised me, and kudos to Jeff Littleton for the job that he's doing at Tift County.
Yes.
He leads the Blue Devils, and that game was moved up one night because of the rain, which, by the way, didn't materialize in a lot of places.
Oh, wow. So they played on a Thursday, actually.
So they played Thursday night in Bainbridge.
Yes.
Tift County comes away with the win, 17-14. I had Bainbridge winning that game 28-14. So, look, great win for Coach Littleton and the Tift County Blue Devils. He's doing a great job there, and I predicted that he would. Okay.
Good job.
Grayson defeats Mallard Creek. I had Grayson winning 22-21. They win 28-14. Boy, Grayson is on a roll right now, taking on all these out-of-state powerhouses. And then finally, and I knew better than this.
Disclaimer.
I knew as soon as I turned this game in, I thought, why did I do that?
Yeah.
And that was picking Mill Creek, and I love Josh Lovelady and the Mill Creek Hawks. But I just really thought Eric Godfrey and North Gwinnett was going to win this game. So I don't know why I did this. I picked them to lose. They did not lose. North Gwinnett keeps on winning.
But it's to your defense that it was a close game. 34-37, that's close.
Yeah. So I had predicted Mill Creek to win it by 3. They lost it by 3.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So
not bad.
Again, those games I can live with. And listen, at the end of the day, it's no big deal. I never, by the way, bet. I do not bet. And this is why. Yeah,
because as soon as you bet, it goes the opposite of what you hope for.
Oh, absolutely. Plus, I love my money too much. I don't like throwing it away. Who else we got checking in?
So I see here, I saw that Joshua made an interesting comment. Joshua Chase Garnto. He says, Colquitt is young, but not down. He said, Lee has the best back in the state. It should be a hard-hitting South Georgia-style football game. He says Lowndes is getting better every game, but they are somewhat young as well, which I can agree with that,
Yeah.
But they will surprise a lot of teams. He says Valdosta is loaded across the board, and I feel like they're showing that each week as well. But he said Tiff still has a ways to go. Richmond Hill is the unknown. Camden's new offense will be tested in region play. So number 1, Lowndes, 2, Valdosta, 3, Colquitt, 4, Camden, Tiff, and Richmond Hill missed the playoffs. So that was a lot. That was a mouthful, but Joshua just gave us his top 4, 5-ish.
Eric Evans. I love Eric Evans' comment.
What did he say?
Phil and Miss Producer. These comments are coming up so fast that I need a Pepsi break. You know what?
Yeah.
Right on time, I'm going to take a Pepsi break. So why don't Eric Evans, why don't you join me? Why don't everybody join me and grab you a cold Pepsi like I'm about to do and enjoy as I pop the top on this baby.
Ooh.
Don't that sound? It sounds
Nice
good, don't
and
it?
crisp.
Oh, it is. Guys, pardon me while I take this sip of this ice cold Pepsi.
While he does that, I see that we have another big rivalry game coming up this week. Andrew Watkins tells us that it's going to be Darty versus Monroe.
Great crosstown rival. I tell you, Hugh Mill Stadium is a great place to watch a football game. One of the older stadiums. Have you ever been in Hugh Mill Stadium?
No, I have not.
It's kind of a weird. It's kind of like a bowl.
Wow.
Yes, down in a hole. It's surrounded by flint. I believe that's flint rock, if I'm not mistaken. Somebody maybe can correct me on that, but it just has a lot of character. I'll say the stadium does. So anyway, big thanks. By the way, as I just mentioned, Pepsi. Big thanks to Pepsi Cola for one of our sponsors of the show, and of course, big thanks also to Dr. Kevin Collins, board-certified orthopedic surgeon with the Houston Clinic. Big shout-out to our sponsors. Without their help, not able to make the show possible. So big thanks to Dr. Kevin Collins of the Houston Clinic and Pepsi Cola, sponsors of Extra Point with yours truly, Phil Jones, and Mazzani Matthews. So there you go.
We got a lot of people checking in. We have Kavion Patrick checking in, Valdosta checking in. He's a Valdosta fan. We have Trajan Body, Bowden checking in.
Let's see here.
I'm kind of far back, so I need to catch up.
Ken Perkins says, "What's going on with Cairo syrup makers this year?" Ken, that's a good question. I can't really, kind of wrap my head around the David Coleman syrup makers. I think they've got the team. I think they've got the talent. We just talked a while ago about teams, getting a slow start. That's one of the things about Bainbridge. I will say this, and you guys that have followed me, you know that I've always mentioned how Bainbridge, under Coach Littleton, they were always a slow starter. They would go like 1-4, 2-5. Remember the year they won the state championship, in 2018. They were 5-5 in the regular season. And then they reel off 5 consecutive playoff wins and win the state title. Now, so you have teams that have that kind of identity. We talked about teams having an identity. Coach Littleton used to say, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. And he lived those words through his football team, okay? Now, at Tift County, he doesn't have the luxury of doing that. I mean, they've got to come out of the gate fast. Having said that, I think Cairo now is kind of taking on that identity. I think they're starting off a little slow, but I think Cairo, and remember I said this, Cairo is going to come on strong come region play. Okay.
Be on the lookout for K-Row.
They got the quarterback, the transfer from Thomas County Central.
Oh, wow.
Who came over and doing a great job. By the way, a big shout-out to one of our K-Row syrup makers, the running back, and I don't have his name in front of me right now, but he set a K-Row school record Friday night, rushing for 300 yards, and I believe it was 5 touchdowns.
Wow.
Had a big night.
5 touchdowns, that's a lot.
It is. Had a big night. By the way, you guys remember, I'm always looking for top performers every week. So encourage your coaches, stat men to send me those top performers. I've got to have them in there pretty soon after Friday night's game on Saturday if you can get them to me, because that's how I determine who our top 10 performers of the week are, and want to make sure we get kickers, punters, defensive players, special team performances, and, of course, great offensive performances. So let me hear yours. And, again, we need to get that in. really I like to work on those early Sunday morning because I have to get in and I have a deadline to hit. So, anyway. Eric Evans says, well, Cairo really don't have much to worry about outside of Peach and Westover, talking about, I guess, the region is down. So, there you go.
Yeah, and Brian Jones, he says, hey, Phil, that won't happen against Peach County when they play Cairo.
I hear you. Obadiah Farley says, Phil, since you were at our game, who was your top performer in that game? It would probably be Bailey, number 4. I think he had, 2 or 3 touchdowns.
Oh, yes. Unstoppable.
Drew, how do you say his last name? Renault, the kicker. He made our special. Well, I can tell you, Obadiah, he made our special teams top performers.
And they used their kicker.
They did.
Multiple times, yeah.
He nails, I think, a 42-yarder in the game. It came at a real key moment, and he hit a 33-yarder, I believe. He did miss one, but still, his field goals came at a key moment, especially that 42-yarder. That took a lot of the wind out of the sails for Thomasville.
Yeah, and I was like, you mentioned the one that he missed, but I'm like, didn't the refs kind of stop them a couple times before? It was either a timeout or some penalties, and I'm like, I feel like that kind of stops the momentum.
Yeah, maybe.
Like when you're about to kick and then you're stopped, and then timeout or whatever, and then you're about to kick again, and you just don't do it.
Yeah, you may be right, but still. He had a big night and made every one of his point after attempts.
Yeah.
And he also had a great punt the other night that pinned Thomasville down deep. So that's one of the big reasons, what I just mentioned, why Drew, y'all help me out with his last name, Renault, that's why he got one of our special team top performers of the week.
We got some people checking in with their key players. Let's see here. Danny Jones says, I nominate DJ Hudson from Peach County. And then Lakeisha Esther says, Brian Duncan from Cairo.
He's the one that made it. That was him. That was him. He was, last year I did this thing called Tip Top Performer. I'm not doing it again this year, but last year it was it was Tip Top Performer. It was the person that really had the best overall performance. And he would have been really close to getting it. That was the young man who got it, who was one of our top performers this week. And that's the one we were talking about earlier that had the 5 touchdowns from the other night.
Okay.
Yep.
And then Philip Jacob Williams says number 4, A.J. Clark. Is that the number 4 we were talking about?
Yeah, A.J. Clark. That's him.
Okay.
That's him. Lakeisha Esther says number 2 is going to be a clinch player for us, Deuce. Listen, you're talking about Deuce Gerald's for Collins Hill. Is that who Lakeisha's talking about? I believe it is. Let me tell you. You
said Deuce Lawrence?
No, Deuce Gerald's.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Deuce Gerald's. He's for Collins Hill. He made our top performers, I believe, the first 2 weeks. He was one of our top performers the first week for that great game that he had. You remember when he was part of that Collins Hill sack attack, I called him, in that game that we did, the ITG Nets game of the week, Collins Hill, when they defeated Woodward Academy. Yeah. He was the leader and still is the leader of that defensive front. But he also now is figuring pretty heavily into the offense for Collins Hill.
Oh, wow.
Collins Hill, look, guys, I had Collins Hill ranked in the preseason top 10 when nobody else did. The composite poll that we talk about, Collins Hill, yours truly, had him ranked when none of those other Atlanta area media outlets had him. So, Coach Drew Swick knows I got his back. But that primarily comes from the way they finished last year and just the great motivator that Drew Swick is. And they're going to do great things. They're already doing great things, off to a great start at Collins Hill this year. But remember, under Coach Lenny Gregory, of course, they had the state championship run with Travis Hunter, Sam Horn. And then they backed down a little bit. But give Drew Swick credit. They came back last year after a slow start. He gets them to the playoffs. In the playoffs, they have a huge upset playoff victory. I believe it was against Shane Queen's North Cobb team.
Wow.
And they went on to, I think, lose the next game. But still, the way that Collins Hill ended the season set the table for the start of the 2024 season.
Absolutely correct.
Yeah. So no question there.
Let's see who else. Oh, Joshua Chase Garnto. He says Aleem Road Dog Brown for Lowndes. That's his key player.
Y'all just not going to talk about my Irwin Indians and Brooks? Question mark. Our great running back. Well, Scott, here's your chance, man. Listen, you talk about them. This is what we do. Who are you talking about? Tell me who the great running back is, Scott. I want to listen. We want to promote, all size schools, not just the big boys. Just we're going to need to expand our show, I think, right?
Yes.
4 hours or something.
We're going to need way more time to talk about all these teams.
We got our man Sly on the line.
Yes, we do.
All right. So without further ado, let's bring in the former athletic director for the Milton Eagles and find out what's happening up in the north part of the state. Don't worry, Ricky. We'll still talk, Scott. We'll talk about what's happening with your Irwin County Indians. Just shoot me his name, man, and we'll certainly talk about him. So with that being said, let's welcome in Coach Sly. What's up, brother?
How we doing? What's going on?
How you doing?
I'm doing good.
Coach,
Doing well.
Coach was at the Falcons game yesterday.
Yes.
And tell me about the sort of the ambience in the Georgia, or not, I call it the Georgia Dome, Mercedes-Benz Stadium. I know there's a lot of Steelers fans there, of course.
Atmosphere was crazy. It was a lot of Steelers fans, no doubt, but it was loud. It was a lot of fun. It was definitely more of a college environment than a pro environment. I felt like, as far as just the enthusiasm.
That's good. I wish Falcons could have done a little bit better in front of the home folks, but got a long way to go. So it's only game one. It doesn't matter if you win the first game or the fourth game or the fifth game. You're not going to win them all. So let's hope the Falcons can come back. And what'd you think about, and we'll move on from the NFL guys, I promise you, but just real quick, I'm a big Falcons fan. I was hoping the Falcons could come out with a win. We've heard all the talk over the offseason. Do you like the NFL?
I do, but I'm way more of a big college fan rather than NFL.
I got you. So I love high school, but I love the National Football League. I don't think there's anything better. Oh, listen, think about it. Here's why. And Sly, chime in on this if you want, brother. But the reason I love the NFL is you're talking about the game that we all love. You're talking about the fastest, the most talented, the best of the best playing the game that we love. It just didn't get any better than that.
Yeah, it's the game at the highest level.
Yes, 100%. What say you, Sly?
No doubt. I mean, those cats. I mean, they're the elite of the elite. They do things nobody else can do at the level, and it's just a lot of fun to watch. Take away the business side of it, because right now there's a business side in high school and college too. So it's all business, but it's the high level, like you just said, elite level of these athletes.
That's a good point, and that's a good way to look at it. A lot of people used to talk about, used to kind of hate on the NFL because of the business side of it and, just playing for money. Well, as Sly just mentioned, it's trickled down to the high school level too.
It has.
So it's all business now, guys. So take that away, though, and just enjoy the purity of the game, okay? I think we can all do that.
Yeah, and you have a lot of people in the comments. They said, I still love my Falcons.
I saw that.
Andrew Watkins, yeah.
I saw that.
I believe, you can only go up from here.
There you go. It's a good way to look at it. Pretty vanilla offense yesterday, right?
Yeah, it wasn't a lot. I mean, I don't think. Look, here's the thing. I don't think Kirk Cousins has played football in a while. He hasn't practiced. He hasn't played a game in a while. Put it that way. You're going to have some rust. You're going to have some timing issues. You can see it out on the field. And on both teams, Steelers had the same issues, no doubt. And there were some calls there that were crazy. That fourth down, that wasn't a fourth down. That was really second and 11. There's nobody at that stadium that every Steeler or Falcons fan all thought the same thing. It was fourth down. The Steelers got stopped. Falcons had the ball back. Things like that, when you're struggling, hard to overcome.
Yeah, you're right. And that is the one thing, and guys, we'll move on, I promise you, but that's the one thing I've always said about the NFL. You've got to make, like Major League Baseball, you've got to make those guys full-time. I'm talking about all of them. Sly, what portion of the NFL refs are just part-timers?
I don't know. I think all of them have other jobs, to be honest with you.
Wow.
Really. I think
Yes.
majority, if not all of them, have a secondary job. They're not going to make a so, and you want the best of the best, and that game's going so dang fast. I don't care how good you are, but you're going to miss some stuff, no doubt. We're all great officials on the sidelines and watching TV and the replay for it. Watch it at real speed and make a decision.
Yeah, and that's something I didn't know. I thought, like, at least if you're a ref at, the highest level, I thought that was something they do full time.
No,
Wow.
like I said, baseball, major league umpires, they are all full time. Being a major league baseball is their full time job.
Okay.
Like Sly said, and I know that there's I think there's there's a handful of them that in referees in the NFL that's all they do. But for the most part, they do other jobs. They're lawyers. They're attorneys attorneys, cooks. Bus drivers. I mean,
Yeah.
they're flying in on Saturday to wherever they're going to be doing the game. Here's where I have a problem with that. It's hard during the week for these guys not to be a fan.
Yeah.
Okay, and I'm not saying it in terms of them being biased. What I am saying though is you have that fan effect. You're watching these guys on ESPN during the week like everybody else is. Now, all of a sudden, you're on the same field with them on Sunday trying to govern what they do. That's hard to do. Okay, it's just hard to do. And Sly is right. When you see the NFL at field level, you understand how fast the game is. Look at some of these NFL film stuff and documentaries, guys on TV, when they're showing the game at field level. And I'm not talking about slowing it down at all. It's unreal how fast the game is.
Yeah. It's a lot to keep up with.
It really is. So, hey, there's a lot of fast guys on the high school football field as well, Sly. What's going on up in the metro area? Who has surprised? Who has kept playing like you thought they would? Kind of give us an overview of football in your neck of the woods.
Well, Buford had a heck of a game against Roswell. We knew it'd be a good game, but Buford came out and they're going to show that they're here, and we knew they were good. I told you game one, even though that was a close game.
Yep.
The weather had a lot to do with it. There's a lot of craziness going on in that game. We had two good teams. Good team. He's a great coach, and they came out and showed it against the Roswell the other night. And then look. Here's some things I looked around. I was just making some notes before he got on the air. How many Blue Bloods aren't doing well right now?
Right.
And nothing against them. They can come back and bounce back, and most will. And that's why I won't say a name per se, but there's 3 or 4 Blue Bloods we all know that are not doing well right now. Some are 0-4, some are 1-3. Household names, and it's just an interesting year. And then there's some teams, like look at that game the other night. Langston Hughes playing Douglas. First off, both those guys are like family. They know each other, love each other, coaches.
Right.
What a game.
Well, yeah, and listen, and I don't names. I mean, I don't look. We're not dissing on any team here, but let's face it, Cedar Grove, for one. Okay.
Yep.
I think they have won 5 of the last 7 state championships in 3A.
Oh wow.
Right now they're nowhere close to being a state championship contender. That's just one example. Prince Avenue Christian. Of course, they're Class 2A, but they are part of that Class A through 3A private league that we have. And Prince Avenue Christian, now, a lot of that's got to do with the schedules. And we talked about this in the offseason. These schedules, some of these teams have brutal schedules. I think Benedictine's got our second, we had rated the schedules. And Veterans had the toughest schedule, but I believe I had Benedictine with the second toughest schedule in the state.
You did. They're not region games or competitions every week.
Yeah. So that's hard to overcome. You're going to fall. To 1-3 or whatever it is they are. But, in the end, I think that's going to help them, though. What say you, Mazzani?
Well, I see a comment here about Obadiah Farley. He says, Coach, what are your thoughts on Blessed Trinity?
Very good one.
What's my feeling of Blessed Trinity?
Yeah.
They're a real good team. They're really well coached. And if we go, they're not ready. It could be a bad night. We got to go ready to play ball, period, the end. They're ranked anywhere from number 2 to number 5 in 4A, depending what polls you look at. They're rightfully so ranked high. They went out and beat a good PAC team down there at their place, right, by that last-second field goal. So, to my point, they're good. They're talented. They got some more cats than people think they do. Obviously, they have a tradition there. It's a private-public game, which we always use those as kind of a mantra for us because, private schools is a little bit different than public are. So, but it's going to be a game. It's not going to be easy by no means. And then we start the region after that. So it's a good kind of test for us before we get into the region. And look at this weather coming in. It's bothering me, too. I'll be honest with you. You get this weather coming in, and we can have rain all night Friday night, and that makes games just more problematic than ever.
Yeah, that's so true.
I'll say this: we really dodged, I think, some issues as heavy rain was forecasted Friday.
Yeah.
And we had some rain early on Friday, but for the most part, it missed us, at least in the southern part of the state. So it really was a non-factor.
Yeah, it was just like drizzling,
Yeah.
and that's manageable.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I can tell you this, okay? I think Thomasville, and Sly, we did the Thomas County Central game Friday night.
Yes.
As far as our game of the week. And I think, a lot of fans, Thomasville fans, were counting on and hoping that the rain would be the great equalizer. In that against Thomas County Central. We know that Thomas County Central, they run on a fast track, speed, strength, and I think Thomasville, to a man, was hoping that the rain would slow TCC down. It did not. Of course, the rain again didn't come, was not a factor like you said.
Yeah. Let's see here. We have Scott Posey. He says, Irwin's star 3 running back, Shane Matthews, committed to Minnesota. He said, can Brooks stop him? And is Brooks really the number 1 team and not Irwin?
It's a good question. Now, I think Brooks is I think Brooks, and again, they're the team that my preseason number 1. I think they're going to win the state. They lost that opener to the aforementioned Thomasville Bulldogs. Okay.
Yeah.
But I think you're about to see Brooks County turn it on and turn it up a notch.
I think so too.
By the way, we will see them. Go
I
ahead.
was about to say, I think it started with the Cook County Hornets.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure did. All right, Sly, what else you got, man? So talking about some of these blue bloods. There we go. A little tough to say there.
Parkview's having a rough start, right? We know that. I think they're like 0-4, 0-3. I never would have thought that. Obviously, Brookwood's having a rough start. Another one, I believe, up there is Keachin, right? And a great coach. I love Coach Reed.
I do too.
That culture set. So my point is, it doesn't matter. They're high school kids. It's year in, year out. You're going to have ups and downs. You're going to try. You got to try to keep that level kind of around all the time and keep going to push. When it goes up at Archer, another team, right? There's a bunch up here, at least in the Metro, that are having a little rough start. But like I said, nothing against them. Respect every one of those programs and coaches, and let's see how they bounce back.
So let me say something too in that vein. Now, what I find interesting, and I'd love to hear our viewers' thoughts on this, Mazzani, Sly. What gets me is, let's say Johns Creek, okay? Our buddy Matt Helmrich, goes to Johns Creek, 5 years ago, and turns them into a winner, and that's an area, where there's a lot of growth. Obviously, I used to live up there in Forsyth County, fastest growing county in the country. The whole 10 years I was up there. But he did a great job at Johns Creek. Okay, really had them, on the rise. They lost. You may remember they lose a very close playoff game to Valdosta. Did Johns Creek?
What year was this?
This would have been Matt Helmrich's last season at Johns Creek. Sly, do you remember what year that was?
So I'm thinking back to, was it 2000 and
2020?
I think it was 20, right? It was right. I think it was COVID. I think it was 20.
Okay.
19 or 20.
Yeah, so this is just an example, what we're talking about. So, Matt Helmrich gets Johns Creek, puts them on the map, okay? And I think this is a testament to Coach. He leaves and goes and takes over Peachtree Ridge. Okay, so two storylines there. Johns Creek falters after Coach Helmrich leaves, but Matt goes to Peachtree Ridge, a team that a lot of people may not remember, has a co-state championship to their credit. And truth is, as far as they look at it, it's a championship.
Yeah,
Okay?
I'm like, what is a co-state
That was
championship?
before the GHSA. In fact, that was the game that kind of caused forced GHSA's hand on no more ties in a state championship game. Why they would ever have had that anyway, I don't know.
Yeah,
but,
who wants to tie? No.
Well, they tied Roswell.
Okay.
14, I believe, was the score. And no more after that. Both teams, it was like kissing your sister. I'll never forget both teams after the game. You know, they're kind of wandering around like, what do we do now?
Yeah.
Well, you both won the state championship. What are you going to do now? Well, we're not going to Disney World, but we don't know. But anyway, my point being that, so you got Peachtree Ridge that used to be a powerhouse. Now they're not, but Matt's doing a good job of building them back up. Whitewater had come into their own a few years back. Yeah, and now they have faltered. And I'm just trying to think of the River Ridge. I love my buddy. I think it's Mike there. That's the coach. I can't remember his last name. Great man. But River Ridge had their little bit of run there. But then they have not been able to build on that success. So that just really, and a lot of that is the metro Atlanta area. And that just really kind of, I don't know, it baffles me a lot. Sly, you want to talk to that? And you can too, Mazzani. Either one of y'all.
I'll let Coach Sly go ahead,
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just to your point, Phil, and I love to hear Mazzani's POV in a second. But I think it's all about the consistency, continuity of the staff, of what you do in your feeder program, what your expectations are, and you're going to go down once in a while and have to fight back. But and that's what people understand. When you've played for 14 games or 15 games a year for 5, 6, 7, 8 years in a row. Man, that's unheard of, and people don't understand that. They just take it for granted that, teams that are good, and it takes it takes a bit to stay there and fight, right, and to build that program. But it goes back to the feeder programs. It goes back to I think right now all our programs from JV to varsity to feeder. I'm gonna guess the number, Phil, but it's like we're 10-1 or 11-1 every level of our programs. So maybe more than that, maybe 15-1. So I think the programs that can do that, and there's a bunch that are doing, not just us, there's a bunch. The programs like Valdosta of the world, right, that can, to your point, Mazzani, like that can literally be historically a great team a lot of times. There's a standard there. There's something set there. There's something in the community there. That's important. And I think it just takes it's a comprehensive program. What do you think, Mazzani?
Yeah, I agree with you. Basically, I think it matters who the player plays for, right? You see your coach leave. Sometimes the players, they don't even want to play football anymore because they don't have that same coach. And then, like you and Sly were saying, feeder systems are so important. It's part of your history. But then, what you're doing up there in Milton, you said it's part of also marketing, giving something or marketing a brand, setting a brand, or I guess you could say a standard, and giving a reason why players shouldn't leave. Like, I want to be with this program because they stand for this, or the purpose behind this. And I think a lot of programs sometimes lack that, and that's why you have players going from this place to this place, and then, coaches want to further their career as well. So coaches may leave from this program and go to this program. But like you said, it's kind of like overall instability if you don't have a great feeder program and, things like that to make it stronger.
So, yeah, just kind of a Mike Collins is who I was trying to think of. Thank you, Stephen K. Wynn. Yeah, you really came in, built up that program, and so you see these schools that have had, I don't want to say they've been one-hit wonders. That's not fair. But they've had intermediate success, I guess is the best way to describe it.
Sometimes it takes a while to build a program to have continual success. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I have a question from Evan Reese. It's for you, Coach Sly. Evan Reese is a big Roswell Hornets fan, by the way. He says, have you guys considered calling the Roswell-Milton rivalry the Battle of the Nest?
That's not bad. That's pretty good. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we both basically, that's actually a very, I wish I would have thought of that years ago. I didn't think of that, so there you go. But yeah, that's a good one for sure. That'd be interesting because to me, it's one of the top rivals in the state. Obviously, there's probably 3 or 4 that are right there with that. But being involved in that rival for years, it goes between man, it splits families. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Very good. That's a very good point. I like that a lot. Good job.
Yeah. Shout out to Evan Reese.
But yeah, and so I'm just thinking like some other programs. I mentioned, boy, there's so many of them. You mentioned Parkview, I think earlier. Gosh, I don't know. There's so many of them. I can't really, I can't think of anyone in particular. Well, Peach County comes to mind. Now, I know that's getting a little bit lower than where you're at in the middle of Georgia. But now Marquise Westbrook, is really starting to put it back together. But once Chad Campbell left, they had a little bit of a lull there in Peach County in middle Georgia. So that's kind of an example there.
Mm-hmm. I just saw, well, to me, it's a great question by Obadiah Farley. He says, so with this new transfer rule, do y'all think these new coaches are really looking or putting effort into the feeding systems?
Wow. Obadiah Farley. First, I love that name, number one. Number two,
it is a great name, isn't it?
He's a great fan. He's got some great questions. Obadiah, I'll tell you, if you don't do it, you're a fool. Because at the end of the day, you have to you have to build a program, right? And I
100%.
think to build continuity, everybody's going to get a kid here and there. The kids are going to move. They want to move. They're allowed to do it as long as they make a bona fide move. And there's no undue influence. They can do that. But you have to build a program. So to your point, if you're not doing that, you're not going to last very long. I'll tell you why. Here's Milton High School has used us examples. So I know it so well. We've played for 3 state championships in 6 years with 2 different head coaches, and 1, 2, 3, I think 4 different quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. Okay, so it's about the consistency of the standard that's set. Right now, the head coach, the second new coach Reeves came through our system with Coach Clack, so there's consistency there. But the feeder program's huge. That is huge.
Yeah,
no doubt.
I agree.
So, Mazzani, what do you think as far as like programs who are kind of going back to Sly's original point? Programs that have enjoyed success, but this year have kind of fallen off a little bit.
I think it's just a part of, rebuilding. And some teams, like we've seen this year so far, Cook County, they have young players. Even Valdosta had young players for a while too. And, a few graduated and everything like that. But when you have young players and most of your older players or experienced players have graduated, you're now left with a certain level of talent that you have to continue to mold, So I think that's where that rebuilding phase comes in. And then if you have a strong feeder system, like if your middle school team is like being undefeated and, just great season after great season, you got to be excited about these 8th graders that are coming up, And I feel like that's a good sign. You're possibly going to have 8th graders that may get a chance to start, So I think it's a good sign for the future. Even though teams may be struggling right now with the young talent that they have, look at it as a positive instead of, you may just have to endure a tough season or two until these players can really mesh well and play together well. So it's just like a natural ebb and flow.
And specifically, which was kind of more to my question as far as like the teams that we're seeing, we named a couple. Now, Fitzgerald, we kind of throw them in there. Now, Fitzgerald has always been a consistent winner, and it's still early. Mm-hmm. And, of course, we're going to see Fitzgerald Friday night. Part of our ITG Next Game of the Week package is they travel to Brooks County.
Yeah.
This will be our second look at Brooks County, by the way.
Yeah.
Second look at them in 3 weeks. But it's going to be real interesting to look at Fitzgerald. Now, they've lost a ton of players.
Yeah.
But if they can go over to Brooks County and pull off a victory here, this changes their whole season.
Yeah.
But they're one to really look at and focus in on because, there for a while, Fitzgerald was competing, they were in line to make the state championship game year in and year out. Mm-hmm. So they're another blue blood, as Sly was calling them. So, and there's so many. I mentioned Prince Avenue Christian is one, but so many more that come to mind.
Well, what do you think their biggest obstacle will be this upcoming week against Brooks?
I think Fitzgerald lost everybody on their offensive line, their defensive line. They lost their top 3 running backs last year. Mm-hmm. So depth is going to be the biggest issue for Fitzgerald. Mm-hmm. And we saw, of course, Brooks County in the win over Cook, they just kept rolling out player after player after player.
Yeah.
And, of course, they were attacking, the passing game or the pass defense of Cook. So I think it's going to be the biggest factor. It could be a depth issue for Fitzgerald. So I'm saying there's a lot riding on this game, more so for Fitzgerald to prove that they still belong than Brooks County so much, because I think Brooks County has really come out and improved it since that opening season loss to Thomasville.
Yeah. We've actually got to see Brooks County, the team that we've hoped for since the beginning of the season. So I'm excited to continue to see them this week.
We're talking, of course, with our good friend, personal friend of the show, of course, talking about Coach Sly, former athletic director there at Milton, joining us here on the show as he does every Monday. ITG Next Extra Point with yours truly, Phil Jones and Mazzani Matthews, a.k.a. Miss Producer. All right, so taking a look, well, I tell you, here's another thing that I'm, speaking of the Blue Bloods, and I love that, Sly. I love, your description there of these top-tier programs. And this is something that I've been talking about, and I don't really know a delicate way to describe it. But I think these top teams, are going to cannibalize each other. I know that's kind of rough, but that's what they're doing. I mean, Buford, look at Buford's schedule. They've got what? They had Douglas County. No, they got Douglas County this Friday night. Buford played Roswell this past Friday night. Is that right?
Yes.
And then Buford will play, I think, is it Westlake, if I'm not mistaken. I think I've got that right. And you're talking about so far Buford, they played Benedictine.
Yeah.
Now, they won, but Buford had to literally pull out everything out of the playbook to win that one.
Yeah.
Now, credit to Coach App for doing that. But my point being, it wasn't just a conventional offensive defense for Buford that carried them through that game. They had to pull out a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, literally had to empty, the playbook. They really did.
So do you think they'll kind of struggle maybe a little bit against Westlake this Friday?
Well, no, it's Douglas County this week. I believe
okay.
it is.
So they have Douglas County.
Yeah.
Then they have Discovery. Then they have Collins Hill. They have Mill Creek down the road. So, they got a handful of tough games. And here's the crazy part about it. I talk about this all the time, Phil, about coaches and communities and who's on the hot seat. And people say, well, if Buford doesn't get to a state championship or play for one, it's a failure. Coach Appling has, I think, 3 rings to his credit as a head coach.
Yep.
The man. People have to be careful what they ask for. Getting to the second, third, fourth round year in, year out is not a failure, right?
Agreed.
People have to be careful with that. I think to our blue blood conversation, I think our fans got to realize it.
Hello.
Sly, you there? All right, let's see if we can get Sly back on the phone here. We have lost him temporarily. Sly, we'll see if Miss Producer can get you back on the line here. But I'll continue my point, guys, talking about these teams cannibalizing each other. I mean, look at Gainesville. They're starting out the year 4 consecutive games away from home. Now, there's a reason for that. They're renovating City Park Field there in Gainesville. So Gainesville has kind of been forced into playing all these road games. But you're talking about Gainesville playing at Carrollton this Friday night, okay? You're talking about Gainesville going over to Alabama to play. So Gainesville went to Marietta in week 1. And I know people will say, well, Marietta's down this year. Listen, Marietta is that's a big place to go in and play. It's a big stadium. They've got a solid program. I guess you can say Marietta's another one of those teams that's a little bit down compared to where they've been. Marietta is I think only 4 or 5 years removed from a state championship. And Richard Morgan is one of the best coaches in the state. So you got to wonder, these teams are going to keep knocking off, like Gainesville and Carrollton. Something's got to give there, okay? Both of them can't win, and they're not going to tie. And I think you're going to see that with Buford, with Gainesville, Douglas County. It's just going to go on and on and on. Do we have Sly back?
Not yet, but I see some interesting comments here. Lakeisha Esther, she was like, middle school is where it really begins. But I see one here, Phil, actually, it says Trip Block. He says, thank you all for all of y'all's thoughts and prayers as I continue my recovery. I really do appreciate it.
Let's see if we can get Coach Sly back on the phone. Sly, if you're watching the show, and I know you are, brother, we're going to have
Here we go.
Coach Sly, we have you.
Gotta love technology until it fails, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry about that, brother. Making sure we get you back on. I'm glad we do. So, anyway, we're just kind of having that was a really good topic you brought up because I was talking about when we lost you. All these teams going to cannibalize each other or cancel each other out. And I think in the end, it's really going to be the survival of the fittest. What say you, Coach Sly?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's gonna be the teams that are built different. That's always a mantra we have, but who are built different. Teams that know how to survive the waves, right, of the ebb and flow of a season, because you're going to have some ups and downs, some injuries. You're going to have some weird weather games like our game one with Buford. I would love to see that game with no weather. It would have been a lot more exciting, both teams on both sides of the ball. So I think, to your point, I think it's the ones that in the experience, the ones that have the experience, the ones that can get to the playoffs and know what it takes to win and not get trapped off in a game you shouldn't, right? That's important as well.
Absolutely. Taking a look at our comments, and I love A.B. Brown. Hey, Phil, Thomas County Central is going to get upset. Walt Taylor, Phil, what's up, man? Long time no talk. Walt, good to see you, brother. Where you been, man? Don't be gone so long. Lakeisha Esther hits right on the head here. Somebody's talking about Thomas County Central going to get upset by Bainbridge. Look, Bainbridge, and here's another blue blood, okay? Bainbridge, one of the most successful programs, 2008 state championship. We just talked about Bainbridge earlier, okay? These programs now are still, they're kind of coming to mind as I get these hints and I get these little reminders. Bainbridge, another program that, like Sly was talking about. Bainbridge has been one of the most successful programs, consistently winning programs, year in, year out, 2018 state champions. But Jeff Littleton leaves, okay? And lo and behold, this year, very much a rebuilding season. And Jay Walls knew this was coming. He said, look, we're going to be young. We got some playmakers, but I remember he said that over and over. They got 15 seniors. That's it. So these teams are just kind of coming up one by one by one. And again, the toughness of the schedule is not helping.
Yeah. It's gonna get pretty gruesome.
And you can't change your schedule. They're usually 2-year contract. Some people have a third kind of offshoot year in there on something they play. Good team for a year or two and go mature. Then you had that 1 year where you got the same schedule and you got a sophomore out there. And I'm not a real smart guy. That doesn't equate to a lot of wins sometimes.
No.
Right? So yeah, Bainbridge is 0-4 going against TCC, who's obviously on a roll. But you know what? I don't know. You just never know. I don't think it's going to matter this year, but there's pride there. No, I think.
Yeah, looking at our ITG Next Georgia top 10. I mean, look at this, guys. Look at Class 5A. Okay. Now, the top 10. Milton, number 1. I've got Coffee, number 2. Thomas County Central, number 3. Gainesville, 4. Lee County, 5. By the way, 4 of those 5 teams off this past week, right? So, Houston County, number 6, Hughes 7, Roswell 8, Rome 9, and I got Seconder, kind of my surprise pick. I'm giving them their due. I've got them at number 10. But look at the top 9 at least. You're talking about 9 teams there. This is Class 5A, guys. Any one of those teams could literally have a chance at a state title this year. What say y'all?
I agree.
I think 8 of those 9 are from only 2 regions.
What's that?
I think 8 of the 9 are only from 2 regions.
2 regions. Yeah, I got you. Yes, okay. Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, it's our region and Thomas County Central region.
Oh, yeah, so you got Hughes, of course. They're not in y'all's region, are they?
No.
All right.
Hughes is.
Yeah, so Hughes and Rome would be the exceptions.
Well, Roswell is. Gainesville is.
Yep.
Roswell's out. Gainesville is.
Yep.
There is. We are. Then you have, Thomas County Central. You said Lee, Coffee, right? I mean, they're all from the same region.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. And if that don't make my point, I don't know what does. And again, if somebody can come up with a better word, maybe canceling each other out.
Yeah.
You know, I use cannibalizing. I mean, just eating each other up.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Derek Ritter says 5A Region 2 is for sure a cannibalistic situation.
Perfectly said.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. And 7 5A. So 2 5A, 7 5A, and that's the regions that Sly was mentioning. I mean, guys, and this again, I keep hating to repeat myself, but this is what realignment has given us.
It makes you that much excited about region matchups.
Yeah.
When we get to the region games.
Well, and even even these out of region games, that's the thing about it. Teams are having such a tough time finding opponents.
That's so true.
That, it's made for some great, very competitive non-region matchups.
Yeah.
We talked about Valdosta going down to Tampa to play Tampa Jesuit. Now, that was huge.
Yeah.
Prince Avenue Christian. Greg Vandergriff didn't have to go play Rabun Gap, who, by the way, I know that Bo what's his name? Former Cedar Grove, Bo Walker. Bowden Walker, as he's officially known as. Bo Walker, of course, Cedar Grove, University of Georgia commit, and former Cedar Grove running back. Okay. He transfers to Stockbridge where he's not eligible. They determined that it was not a bona fide move. So Bo goes to Rabun Gap, which is in Georgia. However, they are a member of the North Carolina, especially the North Carolina Independent Schools Association.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So he kind of, is able to stay in the state technically, not by much. It's right on the line. But, they're not, like I said, they're not a member of the GHSA. So that's how he got past that.
Okay.
But my point being that Prince Avenue Christian, didn't have to go play a game like that. Didn't have to play Benedictine. Yeah, in the same way with Benedictine. Okay, they didn't have to play these tough non-region games. So, what's it going to cost you? Maybe a spot in the top 10, but who cares?
Yeah, it's way more competitive. And Lyric L. Baker, he says the GHSA Region Realignment Committee finally got it right in all classifications.
Agree. That's a great point. Who was it said that?
Lyric L. Baker Sr.
Buddy, that's the comment of the day there, man. I'm telling you, they did get it right. You're absolutely right. Now, their hands are kind of forced in a certain situation. I mean, there's only certain ways you can go, especially when you eliminated a full classification.
Yeah.
Sly, chime in on here, man. What do you think about that comment?
Oh, I think he's correct. I think that they definitely they made it more interesting. That's for sure. I don't know if it was done with the purpose of that or just fell into that lap, but I think it's definitely more competitive, definitely more interesting. I think different. It's not just the top heavy 6A classification. Now 5A is just as tough, and 4A is tough, and down the list and down all the way down to the bottom. As far as just numbers go, not bottom as far as talent. So I think that he's correct as far as that goes.
What do you guys think about this? One of the things that did come also from reclassification. And Mazzani, I'll start with you. What do you think about the class, the private split that has basically isolated the private schools in Class A, Division I? There are no private schools in Division II, Class A, Division II. So Class A, Division I, 2A, and 3A. We, like everybody else now, are acknowledging those teams separate in their own separate category. So we rank the private schools only in those three classifications. I think it is proven to be just a fantastic move, but what's your take on that?
Don't they all have to compete now for just one state championship?
Once the playoffs come around, yes. But now they can play each other during the regular season.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like, I don't mind it. I just feel like it's a little bit harder now for that state championship rather than doing it for each. I guess you could say class, whether it's 1A, 2A. Not 2A, but, 3A and further on. I think it's now all of them are together in just one. Well, now they can only really compete for one state championship, really. So I feel like that's where it kind of gets a little too competitive.
I like it. I wasn't sure how I was going to like it when they first announced that, but And speaking of which, you talk about that Class A, 2A, and 3A. About the simplest way I can describe it there. Listen to these teams. Savannah Christian is my number one team. Prince Avenue Christian, they're off. I just mentioned them. Calvary Day. Hebron Christian, by the way, Jonathan Guest doing a great job there. Fellowship Christian, Athens Academy. Love it. Now, here's some household names coming up. Oh, by the way, here's another big blue blood team that I don't know what has happened to them. Mm-hmm. Is it I don't know why I have trouble with it. Is it Georgia Christian Academy? Am I
I think might be right. Georgia Christian Academy.
Sly, what I don't know. I'm having a tough time with that one for some reason. What's the school there in is it Roswell? Norcross.
In Norcross?
Yeah, it's the private school. What is it?
Because the one in Roswell was what, Fellowship, right? Is that the one in Roswell?
Yes. This is in Norcross.
See if you
Greater
GAC, Great Atlanta Christian.
There we go. There we go. I don't know why I was such a time with that. Greater Atlanta Christian, yes. I mean, you're talking about a team that was dominant for the last couple of decades. Mm-hmm. And again, this is one of the blue bloods that he was that Coach Lyle was talking about earlier.
Yeah.
This is just fascinating to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a good point. They definitely fell off in recent years. And that was a first year in, year out. They can push for championships.
Absolutely. Getting here in the short rows of the show, Lakeisha Esther says they're starting to treat high school sports like the NFL, which take the fun out of it. Now, what do you mean by that? I'm kind of curious as to what Lakeisha means by that. Mazzani, who else we got?
I see here, I was laughing at this comment earlier. Obadiah says, when is the next reclassification? So he does not really agree with Lyric L. Baker. Sr.
Every 2 years.
Yeah, okay.
Isn't that right, Sly?
What's that? What did you say? How many?
Obadiah was wanting to know when the next reclassification comes around. I think it's every 2 years, isn't it?
I think so, yes.
Yeah. Jose Padilla, who we had a chance to meet after the TCC game.
Yes, great person.
Really, isn't he, though? Mm-hmm. You can just tell. I told him, I said, you have a good soul, brother. I could tell that. Jose Padilla, big Thomas County Central fan. Let me say this real quick.
Yeah.
I really have to applaud the TCC fans.
Yes, I'm speechless, honestly.
Me too. They arrived in big numbers.
Yeah.
Well before the game, and that's when the rain was still coming down.
Yeah.
They all had their horns. Sly, are you familiar with the little horns that TCC fans use, the noisemakers, and it's to apparently simulate a
hornet's nest, like a swarm of hornets.
Yes.
And yeah, so when I first heard that, I thought it was like, audio. Like, or something pre-recorded. But then I look down at the stands and I see all of these people with navy blue and gold horns, and not normal looking horns. These are
they're not, are they?
I feel like you can only get them from I don't know where they get those from. But yeah, it's crazy. And if you listen, like just zone in on what the sound, it really does look like a sound like a swarm of hornets coming for you.
Yes.
And they came to that stadium.
Now watch out. Obadiah got me on that when I said swarm of hornets.
Yeah.
Okay, he said, wait a minute, Phil. We're not hornets. It's a swarm of yellow jackets.
Oh, okay, my bad.
I know. I did the same thing. Don't feel bad. I did the same thing. I'm surprised Obadiah hadn't said something already. But Jose, y'all do some exceptional work. Pleasure meeting you. It was a pleasure meeting you, my friend, and thank you for the compliment. But Coach Sly, man, kind of give you and Mazzani your final word each before I close us out. What say you, Coach Sly? By the way, loved your comment on the how the Blue Bloods, the top programs, are kind of suffering here this year. And, again, just a testament to reclassification. But go ahead. Anything you want to talk about to close us out?
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And I was actually talking about that with Coach Clack yesterday at the Falcon game. That's when we started talking about that topic. And I said, man, that's one to get Phil Mazzani going on today. It would be kind of cool. So I appreciate that. My final word is just something real simple. It's going to be, let's just keep the Appalachia High School community in our prayers and those heroes up there and what was done in that community. And hopefully they can one day work through this, not get over, work through the situation they were involved in, because it's a tragedy. But it gets bigger than the field, and you see so many teams, including the Falcons just today, wearing their T-shirts out there, a moment of silence. It's great. It's a great testament what sports can do in such tragic situations.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well said.
Yeah, that is well said. I can't even really add anything to that, to what Coach Sly said. But our hearts are with them, with the families, with the students, and like we said probably a couple weeks ago, sports brings people together, and unifies them. So it's great to see that support, and I hope that they can continue to unify and just support everybody up there.
And of course, I echo both of y'all's comments there for sure. It was a tragic thing. I will say this as we'll end on this. I know some people were talking about some of the comments about we need to draw a line from Macon down. The South needs to get away from the GHSA. We need an organization that's for South. GHSA rule. Okay, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but now there used to be, it used to be where you would have a North Georgia champion and a South Georgia champion who would play for the ultimate state championship.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know that we'd ever get back to that because of, again, the way, teams, schools have grown, communities have grown. You've got school systems that are continuing to be built. And so the whole face of Georgia high school football and really high school athletics has changed. But I got to tell you, it certainly does make for an interesting conversation that you can just have sitting around the fire at night or whatever, sitting around with friends at the kitchen table and having a conversation, because it brings back real rivalries.
Yeah.
Is the South Georgia football better than North Georgia football? And, of course, that's always going to be on the table. But I know, Sly, I was going to let you have the final word, but I want to get your quick thoughts on that, and that will end us for tonight. Mazzani, you as well.
Real quick, my thoughts are it'd be great to have a north-south game of some sort.
Yes.
Whether it be for state championship, I think you got to go through the brackets like everybody else does. But do I think a north-south game or north-south maybe beginning of the year have 2 or 3 teams from north play 2 or 3 teams from the south and have the battle of the state? That'd be great.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
I agree. Or, like a type of a high school bowl game or something.
Yeah.
North versus the South. So
here.
Same thing.
I like that. I like that a lot. And I'll close with this. I know there was some talk last week about Creekside, whether that was good or bad, them taking their second consecutive really bad loss.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe and I have actually advocated for this for a while now, maybe we have some kind of, and I know it's not an exact national championship, but a facsimile thereof to where you have, Georgia, a top team from Georgia, taking on a top team from, I don't know, California, top team, and this is in a playoff type format. Okay?
Oh, got you.
And just kind of see where, almost similar to the college football playoff, but, I'd like to see that happen so we can crown as close to a true national high school football champion as possible. And then maybe that would give Georgia a chance to kind of redeem themselves.
That would be very interesting to see. And I'm like, if we were able to do that along with, North Georgia versus South Georgia, I feel like football would last way longer than December and June.
Well, you're right, and that is the sort of the downside, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
All right, guys, that's going to do it. Thank y'all so much for being a part of the show. Remember, like and share the page, and you can check us out. Subscribe to our twice weekly newsletter. Doesn't cost you anything, but you guys can keep up with all the news as far as high school sports goes. And right now, heavy lean on high school football that we report on. Nobody does it like we do at ITG Next, guys. Thank y'all so much. For Coach Sly and for Mazzani Matthews, a.k.a. Miss Producer, sorry. I'm Phil Jones saying have a great night, have a great week, and we'll see you guys Friday night live from Quitman as Fitzgerald visits Brooks.